The interview with BJNN is brought to you by Biz Events, connecting the Central New York business community through events.
I'm Marny Nesher, president of the Business Journal News Network, and I'd like to welcome Dan Palladino, partner of Palladino Farms, LLC, and owner of Heritage Hill Brewhouse. Palladino Farms is a third-generation family business. They are a crop and beef farm located here in Pompey. Dan, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I always like to start off by asking some personal questions.
Sure.
And want to learn a little bit about you. I'm assuming that you grew up in Pompey. Did you grow up at the farm itself or nearby?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd like to know also where you ended up studying in addition to where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up on the farm. It's a large Italian family, so a number of my father and my uncles all had houses that were built on the farm property.
And how much? How many acres do you have? Excuse me.
The farm, we own 300 acres on the farm.
Okay.
Right now, we farm over 2,000 acres with a partner, but we, for most of the time, we're a 600-acre family farm.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about your education. Where did you study after you went off to college?
So I grew up on the farm. And I also was working in some restaurants, so I decided after high school to go to Paul Smith College, where I started in hotel restaurant management, which is ironic. But after taking an accounting class, the professor encouraged me, based on how I did that, to go into that major because not a lot of people understood that. So I did that, and I ended up going to Binghamton University afterwards, and then worked for Pricewaterhouse and a couple other corporations after that.
Very impressive. And then what brought you back to the family farm?
Well, it was unexpected. My father passed away, and he was partners with his two brothers, and but they were really continuing it for my father. So they decided they no longer wanted to continue the farm. And my brother and I were faced with, are we going to do this? And we decided, yeah, let's do it. So I worked for 5 years, continuing to work for Thermo Fisher Scientific and then running the farm with my brother.
And how many active family members are working right now in the farm with you?
Well, yeah, on the farm, it's just my brother and I. Okay. But when we built the business, the Brewhouse, a number of people have been involved. My other brother, my sister, my mother, on the side are just doing individual roles.
And so talk to me, you're the owner of Heritage Hill. Tell me what that is. I have been out there multiple times when you were in the stages of growth. And it's incredible what you've created. But you're a brew house,
mm-hmm.
you're a restaurant, you're
yes.
an entertainment facility, very family friendly.
Yeah, and a store as well.
Okay, yeah. And a store.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the evolution was, while I was working and continuing the farm was really on maintenance mode. We did convert it to organic to try to find ways to make sure that it was sustainable and it could stand on its own. And then when I decided to go full-time and leave corporate America and make a career on the farm in a viable business, I started by starting a little farm store because we were selling our own meats. That we raised on the farm. We were a beef farm, and people wanted to buy them, but I didn't have the opportunity to sell them. I was very busy. So I created this little store, and people were coming from all over we have like 40 different farm products in the store. And so I realized, it would be nice to bring people back to the farm. We had a long history of a farm equipment dealership, hosting the Empire Farm Days. There was always people at our farm, and I kind of that's what I grew up experiencing, and I wanted to bring a little bit of that back. Started there. Then we were already growing malt barley for the New York craft brewery business. The laws that they put in place in New York State encouraged people to purchase New York grown ingredients, and that helped us at that point. When I started doing that, I said, boy, would it be nice if I could have a brewery, but I never brewed a beer in my life. So I just sort of let information out there. Hey, I want to have a brewery. And honestly, I let the rumor mill just roll for me. And 2 weeks later, I received a Facebook message from John Frizzy. He grew up on a dairy farm in Fabius. Outside, we both went to Fabius Pompey. His uncles also owned Casanova Equipment Company, which was one of our biggest competitors from a farm equipment business standpoint. And he wrote and said, told me all about the brewery that he runs and owned and opened in Colorado, but that he wanted to move back home with his wife to be closer to his family. And he heard I was interested in opening a brewery, and if I needed any help, let him know. And a week later, I
am.
A week later, I was on a plane to Colorado, and we hatched the whole plans for the brewery right then and there. And
he's a partner?
And he's involved. He's not a partner in the entire business in the brewing aspect of it. Yep. Because, like you said, it's a restaurant and everything else on top of that.
And then the other part, what are your plans in terms of expansion? What are we going to see on the horizon? Because you keep evolving and changing. You went from the farm, you went to the Brewhouse, the restaurant, the store. What can we expect in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we are capped a little bit. So part of when I first took over the farm, or even before I took over the farm, I was working with my father on trying to protect the farm long term under the New York State Purchase of Development Rights Program. And I was successful in doing that in 2016. So the farm itself can never be developed. It has to remain in agricultural production. There's a small area called my farmstead where the brewery exists, as well as my barns, that I can do some stuff in. So you won't see a massive expansion, but what we will do is we opened in October and the business grew faster than I could have expected. So we're doing things such as increasing our infrastructure, water, the abilities to do that. We have a beautiful barn that people like to use. So we'll, continue to revamp that, make the grounds so people can do trail rides. We have a draft horse now, so we'll do sleigh rides and wagon rides.
That's great.
But still, the farm's all going on, so we have all the animals. Just continue to make it conducive for that. But I don't plan to grow it more significantly than that as far as our footprint goes.
That's really, what is it like to have a family farm where you had very few people on it, and now it's literally people are in your driveway all the time? That's got to be. Is it challenging, or are you actually it's fun and?
Well, we grew up in a large Italian family, so that house. I now live in the house that was my grandparents, that then my parents lived in after they passed away, and now I have the house. It always was a family home, and like I said, with the Empire Farm Days, there used to be 50,000 people would come up there just for a short period in August, but there was always people there. It was actually sadder when. When I first took over the farm and all of that was gone and it was so quiet. So I was always accustomed to that. So I enjoy it. I love seeing people enjoy the views. You can see 9 counties from where we're at, sunsets. I believe in sharing it with people. That was the idea of protecting the land. So I enjoy it.
It's a beautiful facility. Well, tell me, what are the biggest challenges facing the family farms today?
Well, farming always had been a commodity business, and not a lot of people realize. But in New York State, it's our largest industry. But it's hard for farms in New York State right now because it's higher cost of doing business. So the challenge, you can still be successful, but I think you have to find a way to make a differentiated product and to market that product. And that's something farmers hadn't done. They sort of let go of that. They just wanted to be out in the fields. So in my role in Farm Bureau, I try to encourage, as well as on Economic Development Ag Council, I try to encourage farmers to have ideas for value-added production and those types of things, and to find them money and grant money in order to be able to do that so they can have a farm be sustainable in the long run.
And were you able to take advantage of any of the grant funds from New York State for your Heritage Hill?
So I did, and the economic development program was great. I did not meet the what they call the minority-owned business qualification parts to receive that money. I chose to use local contractors. And so it's a question of whether or not I will see those grants. I did successfully get a value-added producer grant from the FDA, which was really good, or USDA, sorry, which has been very helpful. And I'm trying to find ways to expand that program to help other producers do the same type of thing.
Oh, it's interesting. What do you think that we should expect from Palladino Farms in the next upcoming years? Other than Heritage Hill and what you're doing over there, do we anticipate any changes that you can share? Or
yeah, I like to have the farm get back to its original size, supply the restaurant, be very oriented towards we have a pumpkin patch, but having more things that can involve people. I like to do a lot of tours with field trips with schools and with programs like that. So I think we'll be doing a lot more of that on the education side, more with Farm Bureau, Cornell, those types of things. So I see us being heavily involved in educating the public about agriculture in the future.
Well, I think it's very important for our community. And what do you see coming from your industry? What would be the most immediate need that you could ask for right now in terms of help from whether from the government or from the business community or whatever to be successful and continue on this path?
With the Central New York Economic Development Council, we have a great team that's working on that right now, and we've got resources. So right now, we're trying to reach out to the farmers, and it's about getting the ideas for value-added production and for making sustainable agriculture in New York, and that's what it's going to be. Getting the markets. We have New York City, we have Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. A lot of what's consumed in these markets is coming in from other states. If we have a way to, prioritize buying local, prioritize buying from your local farm, having processing facilities for those farms so that they can sell into institutional places like colleges and school districts and prisons. That's going to be important stuff, and that's how we can ensure the future of farming in New York.
Well, that's really good to know, and we're always interested in that topic and how we can help, and we know how challenging it is for the agricultural community. So that's really all we have time for today. Thank you to Dan Palladino and for joining us. Please join us at CNYBJ.com for more updates on when our next interviews will be happening. Thank you.